So you were on a blind date with someone else.
Yes.
And you saw someone, that's my wife. How did you even approach her off of another date?
Bro, it was so crazy. Let's call it 3 months before the moment I met my wife. I get a message from somebody who I have not spoken to for years. The message says, "Hey P, I'm in London with my boy's girl." So hear the language. "Hey P, I am in London with my homeboy's girlfriend. And he missed his flight, so I'm hanging out with her. She is like the female version of you. You guys have to do work together. You have the love mob. She's doing stuff in Africa, building clean water wells. You're both so positive and X, Y, and Z. I just feel like you guys need to know each other. She's dating my homie." So I read the message and I'm like, okay, let me click on her profile. Look, she's gorgeous. She's dating this dude, right?
Yeah.
So he puts us in a message. I say, "Hey, Alexi, nice to meet you. If you're ever in LA, hit me up. I'd love to drop in and talk business, et cetera, et cetera." She writes back one thing. I write back, send her my number, say something, and she never responds at all. No response. Right? So she ghosts me. No big deal. 6 a.m., the day of my blind date, 6 a.m., I wake up and I instantly felt like I was going to meet my person. I was like, yo, I'm about to meet my wife. So I go on Instagram at the time and Facebook, and I post this picture of 2 wolves kissing. And you can find this to this day. It's still on my Instagram. It's far down. This is 2013. I posted 2 wolves kissing. I said, I can feel her coming. Hashtag wifey. Hashtag the queen is on her way. 6 a.m. I just put it there. I don't know who this is. I just feel it. I'm like, yo, it's happening. Right? Now I know that I have a date with this girl named Eva, who's driving down from Valencia that night for us to go to a show, a poetry show. Eva pulls up to the house. She knocks on the door. I'm like, oh shit. Is this the wolves kissing moment? She opens the door. I look at her and I go, that ain't it. I instantly know. I'm like, that ain't it. But I was in a class called The Power of Prayer, where they told us you have to take a pause before every decision. So I invite her upstairs. I was about to end the whole date. Cutthroat, like, yo, we're done. Right? Because this ain't it. I go in my room and I say, God, am I supposed to go on this date? And literally, like a lightning bolt through my whole body, yes. So I'm like, but this ain't it. Like, God, am I supposed to go on this date? I ask again. I'm like, homie, are you sure? Lightning bolt. Yes. All right, bro. I get dressed. We get in the car. We're driving from Hancock Park to Venice Beach. Anybody in LA will understand this. When you get off on Wilshire Boulevard, there's all these lights. And I hit every single light, red light, every single red light on the way to this thing. By the 4th one, I'm like, yo, something's happening. Because I had just done a video on YouTube talking about the people who missed their flights for 9/11. The people who called in sick from the Twin Towers who didn't die because they listened at some level. The people who missed their cab, then missed their flight, and didn't end up on those planes, right? And so I just did a video on that. And here we are, skirt, 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 every red light. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So we get there, we run up to the front. I say, hey, so sorry, we've made a mistake. We've oversold the show by like 10 to 20 seats. We are willing to refund you your money, or you can come to the show tomorrow. I look at Eva and I say, hey, what do you want to do? She's like, let's just go in. She's like, if you go in, we'll sit you on the wall. You can just stand on the wall. So we walk in. The guy walks us in. He walks us to the front. There's all these people on the wall. He says, you two sit right here, stand right here, basically. He takes 2 steps forward, stops, as if he's being hit by something. I don't know this guy, just a random ass dude. He stops and he goes, actually, you two, I'm gonna put 2 more chairs down on the front row. This is a hazard. So if anything happens, you guys have to hop up quickly and move these chairs, right? Now there's people lined up, but somehow he picks me and this woman to put 2 more chairs down. So he sits my chair down. He sits her chair down. We sit down. I look at the stage. I look at my date. And next to her is Alexi. And I'm like, London. Vince. She's like, I was like, Alexi? She's like, Preston? And like, I thought you lived in London. She's like, no, I live in LA. I'm like, what? And we're having this moment. And literally, I think about the wolves. All of it. Just flash. Every girl I've ever dated flashes into my brain. I'm not even listening at this point. I'm just like, this is who I'm going to marry. This is who I'm going to marry. Oh my fucking God, I'm going to marry this person. Oh my God. Now my date's in the middle. She's going back and forth like this. And I am losing it. Like, losing it. Because I'm like, yo, out of everybody I've ever been with in my whole life, this is that moment. And I knew it, bro. It's actually crazy. So she sits back and she's like, oh, it's so good to meet you, X, Y, and Z. No sexual chemistry, nothing from her end. On my end, I'm dying on the inside. So we sit back, the show starts. I don't hear a single word he says in the whole show. The whole time I'm just thinking about how I'm gonna transition this to marriage, right? I just met her, my first time ever seeing her. And I'm like, yo, this is it. So we gotta figure out how we gonna get married now.
You're right.
So we stand up in the show, the thing here. We stand up, show's over. My date's feeling super insecure. Of course she would be. And Alexi stands up and we go to hug. And it was this hug. You ever hug somebody you don't want to let go? It's like one of those moments where we just sit there.
100%.
And then she realizes that it's awkward and sort of pulls back. And I'm like, well, if you are free for coffee sometime, I would love to meet up with you. And I go into the nerdiest voice, like high pitched, just weird nerd voice, right? Yeah. And she's like, yeah, cool. Like, just let's put it in the calendar. How's like 2 days from now? Like, I'm going out of town to New York, but I'll be back. And I'm like, yeah, cool. So she puts 45 minutes in her calendar. A couple days later, we meet at Larchmont. And again, I was like, this is it. We sit across from each other. She says, tell me about your dream. And I was like, well, realistically, I'd like to have 10 kids. I'd like to have land in Topanga where we have horses and cows. I want to be married. I want my mom and dad to live on the property and come teach art and gardening. And I want to lead people and help people realize who and what they are. And I'm giving it to her, right? And I said, what about you? And you could see something on her face was happening. And she said, oh, well, let me just show you. She pulls out her computer and she has like basically the same list that I just listed off. And we have this moment where I'm like, oh shit. And she knew it, I knew it, we both knew it. It's like, okay, this is interesting, right? So I said, wait, you're dating that guy Jay right now? And she's like, yeah. I was like, okay. I said, tell me about, this is me, I'm now trying to slide in at this point. I said, if you could just like write your perfect man, what would it be like? She starts describing me, and she knew it and I knew it, right? And she was like, well, what about you? If you could write your perfect woman? And I go off and I'm like, this, and this. I knew I was describing her. I could already feel it. Long story short, that 45 minutes went to 4 hours. I walked her to her car and got to her car. A bird had shit on her windshield in the shape of a heart. She took a picture of it, posted it on Instagram, said, it feels like the universe is trying to tell me something. A few days later, we were back hanging out again, and we were car dancing to grills. Rob the jewelry store, make me some grills. Yeah. That song. Yeah. And we're bumping, car dancing hard. And I look over at her and she looks at me and I'm like, yo, this is it. And it just literally was divinely orchestrated, bro. I could go on and on with amazing stories, but that's how we met.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the most amazing stories I've heard of someone meeting.
It was like a movie. That dude, if he didn't miss his flight, we wouldn't be married.